Hello, happy Tuesday, mountain biking ladies. I hope you guys are doing fantastic tonight. So today I wanted to talk to you guys about one of the biggest mistakes that I see people doing when training. And I must talk about this every single day. It's so common, it's so prevalent, and it's a pretty big deal when it comes to actually getting what you need out of your training. Like if you're cross training, if you're doing other exercises, if you are putting in the time, you might as well get the benefit out of it and also not get hurt from it. So that's the key thing, and that's one of the reasons why I actually even started this group. It was to help ladies, help mountain biking ladies, one, not get hurt, because I didn't want to see you guys in my clinic because there was things that you could have done before you guys got to me. And then two, share some ways of how to actually train for mountain biking in a correct, logical, and functional way. So the biggest thing, I could have talked about how task-specific training. I could have talked about how whenever you want to train for mountain biking, you need to do mountain biking-esque training. Like balance, a lot of core. You need to be doing power muscle, power exercises when it comes to one side versus another side. Like, that's pretty key. I could have also talked about not including as much core with your exercises. But that's honestly not the biggest thing. And you're like, whoa, it's not the biggest thing, is adding more core to my exercises? This is crazy, because I talk about core all the time. And so the biggest thing when it comes to exercises is, are you doing and actually activating the right muscles? Do you know what muscles you're supposed to be working with the exercise? Or do you not? If you're doing a glute exercise, are you actually working your glutes? Or are you just going through the movement so it looks like you're activating your glutes, but you're actually just using your quads more? Are you doing an exercise that looks like you should be using your core, and that is nicknamed a core exercise, but you're just using your hip flexors and your low back? That's what feels sore after you get done. Because that's not a good exercise anymore. If I do a core exercise and my hips hurt and then my back hurts a little bit, it feels tired, is that actually what I want to be tired? I want my core, like my front part, to also be working, especially if it's a front part, more centric exercise. Now, if it's a back exercise, then I want my back to be working. If it's a shoulder blade exercise, I want my shoulder blades to be working. Who in here has this issue? I know I have in the past. If you've had this problem, raise your hand. Just put, I have, or this is me, because there's a ton of y'all out there. And I know that I was, especially before I went to PT school. I was using all the wrong muscles all the time, trying to do the exercises, and just destroying my body more and more. I would do core exercises. I would do like the little 6-inch hold foot wiggle, and I'd put my hands up underneath my butt to support my abs, and I would just get my hip flexors more sore. I'd feel a little bit in my abs, but I'd feel a lot of it in my hip flexors. Like, this is huge, guys. Like, I didn't know this stuff before I went to PT school. Like, how to actually activate these muscles, how to actually use my butt. Like, I dragged the thing around with me everywhere. You know? It's so hard to activate these muscle groups, especially when you're just looking at something and trying to mimic it. It's so hard. You can go through the movements. Like, I can do squats, but am I actually using my ass with my quads, or am I just driving with my quads and using and putting stress on my back? Like, is this you? Do you know how to actually use these muscles? Do you know what exercises to do for them? Like, are you doing and just going through motions? Because if you are, you're more likely to risk injuring yourself than actually benefiting yourself. And you're just wasting your time. Literally, I've been there. I wasted my time for years. And I was so frustrated when I finally realized, oh snap, that's what that exercise is actually for. I'm not supposed to feel it in my hips. Like, ladies, I was talking to a girl this morning, actually in the team, and she's like, Liz, I just realized my hips aren't popping anymore. Is that because my core is stronger? I'm like, hell yeah, it is. That's because your core is stronger. You guys know there's actually a syndrome called hip popping syndrome? I've had it. I would have to be running, and then like my hip would like pop over a little part of my hip, and I would literally have to go like that to pop it back into a better place. Like, it was a muscle on the front. It was my hip flexor. It was just because I was destroying it. I was like using my hip flexor like it was the main support structure in my entire body. And I know a lot of y'all are too. Because we're females, we're wider, and all the core exercises that are out there are freaking hard. If you do a 6-inch hold, do you realize how hard that exercise is? There's a reason why we have to put our hands underneath our butt to actually make it happen, versus actually using our core to make things happen and to make things go. It's so much of a difference through that. If you're one of these people, just comment me. Comment me. There's so many of us out there. And so if you're doing exercises that you're not feeling what you're supposed to be feeling with them, then you need to change things up. Stop just doing the same stuff. Look at actually how the form is. Check it out. If you have questions on exercises, post them, comment them below. Let me know. I can go through a couple of them. Like, there's no sense in just continuing to do the same shit and getting the same, like, bad results or not as good of results as you need, as you can. Like, as soon as I actually started using my core, do you realize how much my body changed? I was able to sit through a 60-minute lecture without my back hurting or having to, like, maintain just perfect posture because my back was destroyed. My hip flexors were just pulling the holy hell out of them because that's the only thing I was using to support my trunk. And this comes from playing collegiate soccer. Like, this isn't that you just don't know what you're doing. It's that you weren't trained right. You weren't taught these things. So many of us weren't. Like, I played D1 collegiate soccer and I left with hip flexor popping issues. Like, my quads were freaking beasts. I went down like a pant size when I stopped playing. Like, it's not that you don't know your stuff. It's that you weren't trained right for it. What's out there of just like, try to keep your chest up through every single squat exercise. Trying to do back squats whenever you can't even do a front squat or a goblet squat. Like, do you realize the difference between those and how it weights down through your legs and through your feet? It's a dramatic difference of how you're loaded. Holding weight out here when you're doing squats versus having a back squat weight. It's different with your activation patterns and where you're going to put your weight and where you're going to load yourself. You know, like, this is freaking, it drives me nuts. Know how to do a squat. If you're going to do squats for exercises, fucking do them right. Like, load yourself properly. Don't get injured. Okay? So if you have questions on exercises, if you have questions on training, you let me know. I'm here. It's why the reason why I started this group. Yes, it's changed into something amazing. Like, I could have never dreamt about what this group was going to go for and what it's become. It's become amazing. You guys are so supportive, and it makes my heart so warmed. Like, you guys don't talk bad to each other, and if somebody does, you call them out and be like, that doesn't happen in this group. Like, we don't do that. Like, so that it's like warms my little heart. Just a little side note. But for your training, for your exercises, make sure you know what you're doing. Make sure that you're actually able to implement it. And if you have questions on that, reach out to me. It's the main reason why my team program, it's not me just having workout videos up there. In fact, it's directly the opposite. I go through every exercise and I'm like, all right, you want to watch out for this, you want to do this, and if you have problems with this and not activating this, then you're going to do this. Like, it's not like, all right, and we're going to do 10 reps, 1, 2. Like, you guys can do that everywhere. You guys need to know how to actually do it right. So, my challenge to you, Next time you go and work out, think about the exercises that you're doing and think if you're able to use the right muscles with them. Or are you making your neck tight? Are you able to use these things called shoulder blade muscles, your upper back? Are you just stressing down low? Like, think about what exercises you do. Are you able to implement them correctly? It's the biggest mistake I see with training. You just go through the movements, you make it look like the other person that you saw do it before, and you think that's good enough. That's where injuries lead, that's where bad motor patterns lead, and that's why people end up coming to CPT, or a chiropractor, or a massage therapist. It's because you're not loading yourself in good patterns. You gotta load yourself in good patterns off the bike so you can have good patterns on the bike. You wonder why your back hurts after you ride 5-6 miles? It's because you haven't been able to load yourself properly for off the bike, working on your endurance, and so then when you're on the bike, you're definitely not focused on what the hell your body's doing then. You're just going to use whatever you can and get the job done. It's an athlete, task specific. I'm going to ride this trail. I'm going to ride this trail. So think about it. My challenge to you is if you have a question then you ask me. Pop it up in the group. Hey Liz, can you talk about squats? Hey Liz, can you talk about deadlifts? Hey Liz, can you talk about rows? I'm not able to feel it in my shoulder blades. Hey Liz, can you talk about training? Just tag me. There's so many posts now, I don't see them all. You have to tag me in them. But I can help. All right, ladies, I'm out. Think about this. I challenge you to focus on it the next time you go train. Are you doing core exercises that just stress your low back and your hips? Are you doing squats that just make your low back hurt? Are you actually using your butt? Are you just using your quads? Are you doing other reverse flies that just make your pecs work? You're like, oh, I thought this was the upper back exercise. There's different patterns that we all go into, and they're pretty common. But it's knowing how to change it and knowing what to do for yourself. That's key. Let me see if there's any questions on here before I bounce. No, Melanie, I love you. This topic gets me fired up. Jen, got to get that right hip not popping some. Amanda, you know what I'm talking about here. Yeah, ladies. You're not alone with it. And so it's changing those patterns. All right, ladies, I love you. Let me know if you have questions. And also, same thing with if you have any questions for the team. I'm going to talk to the nutritionist tonight. We're going to talk about premenopause, perimenopause, and postmenopause, different nutrition advice, and how to fuel better. Fuel yourself for your rides. All right, guys. Have a great night.